get anybody watching this one?
All right, we are good.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get started. I don't think we need to do introductions at this point. I think everyone has been on this committee before and has been to a meeting before, so I think we're good. I will be pretty quick tonight. I just wanted to call a meeting. Typically, we would call a pre-audit meeting. The audit fieldwork is starting. In the past, we were with an IPA for the audit portion, and this year we have switched to the auditor state. So what happens is typically when the state auditors send you out, you will get like a 5-year contract. Our 5-year contract was up with Ray and Associates. So the auditor state will take these audits back just to kind of, check in on them, make sure things are running smoothly and kind of do their own once over. So they'll be performing the audit this year, and then I would expect that we will move to an IPA again next year. I could be wrong. That's all up to the state auditor's office. That's their decision, but we would request that. So this is a little bit different because the state auditor's office does not attend meetings that are public. And since not that they don't attend, they don't participate in meetings that are public. Since our audit committee is a board audit committee and we are subject to sunshine laws and we have to have our meetings open to the public, we're kind of doing this on our own rather than just going through the letter of arrangement like we normally would with the auditors. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that we are getting started, aware of the change in the guard, I guess you can say, and then what that change is going to entail for us. So the state auditors do look at, they abide by all the same standards. The IPA abides by the same standards as the state auditors, but the IPA firms tend to do things faster. The audit budget on a dollar amount is the same. The budget this year that the state has given us is $25,912. That is consistent. It's right around where that's been in the past couple years with Ray. The difference is Ray's time budget was 320 hours. The state auditors are budgeting 632 hours. And they will likely use all of that. So that gives you an idea of the difference in time that it's going to take for us and for my staff. They do look a little bit more in depth at certain things and they kind of cycle certain things through. I don't know what the big deal is this year, but every year there's kind of one thing that they kind of look at and they're kind of pushing on. So I don't know what that is yet. I'm sure I'll find out. So it's going to, hopefully the timeline will be the same, not as last year. If you recall last year, we did get an extension. We won't need an extension this year, knocking on wood. But they are working. They've started doing their, initial interviews and starting to look at narratives for control procedures and started to test controls. The timeline, the conversion will be done in November. We do have to submit the unaudited reports by November 30th, and we will certainly do that. And then the audit has to be dated and done, and the CAFR submitted by December 31st. So that's kind of the timeline right now. They are both working. We are still using Ray for the conversion of the CAFR. They are working diligently, as is the state auditor. So the difference this year too, just so everyone knows, with COVID, they are not on site. Typically state auditors kind of, you find them a spot and they kind of camp out for quite a while. And they can't do that this year. They're trying to stay remote as much as possible, which is, good for us because I don't know where we were going to put them this year. So everything has to be scanned. So it's partially, that may be why the budget is up as far as hours. that's going to take them more time to wait on us to scan everything and, pull everything down and download it, rather than, sometimes in the past, if they just need to view something and they don't have to actually include it in the work papers, I could just hand them a folder and they could observe it and mark that they've observed it and move on with their lives. But now it's going to be a little bit different this year. So we will all work through it. I've spoken to management for the conversion team and for the audit team, and everybody, seems pretty positive and pretty confident that we'll get everything done on time and efficiently. So that's really the only update on the audit that I have. I did include on the agenda for everybody, just so that, you can kind of take a look at the June 30th financials. I don't really want to go through all of that unless there's questions. I also gave you last year's CAFR, just so you can see what it is that we're preparing and putting together. We received our award on last year's CAFR from OSBA. We received no comments on that at all, so that was great. Typically, even if you get the award, they have a few review comments, and they had none, so that was fantastic. We've not gotten the GFOA one yet. They're just running behind, and it does take at least 6 months in normal times. So we'll get that certainly, I'm sure, before we need to insert it into the CAFR.
Ashley?
Yes.
So after the state does their 1 year, do you go back to the old firm, or do you have to go through a bid process?
We have to go through a bid process. Ultimately, the decision is up to the state with who we use. It's not, like us, when we do a contract bid, we take the lowest and best bidder, and that decision is up to us. For an audit, the state does get to make that decision for us. We get to give input, and we will score based on the responses that we receive, from the firms. We'll score and we'll give our input, but the ultimate decision rests with the Auditor of State's office.
Yeah. So I think since I've been doing this, which is a while, it's always circled back to Ray, but I don't know how many times in a row you can do that. Does the state care that way or not really?
I don't know that they care necessarily about, a longstanding relationship. That tends to make things easier for everybody when, they're familiar with the way you do things. Makes their lives a lot easier. And, the state auditor, when they pull it back, they have to follow those work papers. So, there are only a certain number of auditing firms in the area that bid on these projects, right, and that are qualified.
It's a niche, yeah. So would you still keep the conversion with Ray regardless of where the audit goes? Probably convenience with that continuity.
I have had no issues with Ray. We have a really good working relationship. They get things done quickly. They're patient with me when they want something, and I can't get to it today. They'll wait a few days before they start knocking on my door again saying, hey, I need to get that done. They do know our financials and they know our system, and, it works.
Which is the bigger project, the conversion or the auditing?
Pretty close to equal as far as budget is concerned. Excuse me. It's gone. I mean, as far as the budget is concerned, they're pretty close. Honestly, there's not a big difference in this district. Yeah. Now, this year, if you're comparing budgeted hours, the audit is much larger because state auditors are going to spend much more time. And again, there's some efficiencies that they don't have because they haven't had the audit for 5 years.
Yeah. What'd you say that fee was? I'm just curious again.
About $26,000. So the conversion is less, but it's a more specialized skill, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I do remember one other time, like we maybe didn't think we could use Ray for the conversion when they were our auditors because of some ruling, but then they had to, I think, agree to use a totally separate team, and it was fine. I know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty common now with the IPAs that, you can do that. And it does make, it makes our lives easier because if they have something already, if I've already scanned in all the bank statements and given them to the conversion firm, the auditors aren't going to call and ask me. They'll just ask, they'll go down the hall and ask for for those statements.
Kind of like using the same firm for your tax work and your audit work, because it's all under the same roof.
Yeah, I mean, they're different divisions. They're under different managers, so they are independent, so that they're not compromising their audit opinion. But it does make things a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm. And I do remember twice going out to bid, and I think last time there were 3 firms that bid.
Yeah. That's about typical. I'd say 3 to 5 is pretty typical, depending on the load. And when we put it out, I'm sure Ray would be first in line to bid because they know the audit and they know what they're getting themselves into. We're a pretty smooth audit. We're easy to deal with. I think so. We're responsive and our records aren't a mess. So, they know what they're getting themselves into when they submit that budget. They know they're going to be able to make it.
Are there any new, other than the change in the firm, are there any issues or transactions or anything that are new this year does COVID do anything to it?
COVID changed our world at the end of the year. It reduced our revenues for state revenue. There were a few expenditures toward the end of the year that we had, but really that's all going to be into this fiscal year, not the audit year. We've created a couple new federal funds to account for the monies from the CARES Act.
Yeah,
but and the ESSER funds, but it's for the audit period, not really. So that's really all I had. I just wanted to give you the documents and let you know what's going on. I will give you the email address for the audit manager at the state if you have questions you want to direct to them. They said that's okay. I'm going to give them your email addresses so that they can send the engagement letter, and I'm not sure what else they wanted it for, but they did say that they, if I give them the committee emails, that they would communicate directly with them as well.
Okay.
So.
Are there any new regulations this year?
No, there was one GASB that we were going to have to implement, but COVID kind of kicked that can down the road for us, so we don't have to deal with it this year. We'll worry about it next year. We could have early implemented, but I chose not to.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if you want to give just a quick update on levy, kind of what's coming, just so the committee is aware.
Yeah. So the 3.85 mil levy will be on the ballot in November. That is to replace, it's not a replacement levy, but the millage will replace the millage that is falling off from the debt that we have that's expiring December 1st. So the millage will stay the same. The board put a lot of time into considering and trying to decide what to do. Initially, I think this group is aware, initially in the spring, we were looking at putting 7.9 mils on in the fall. Obviously, when COVID hit and, did what it did to the economy, the board decided that was not, something that we wanted to ask our taxpayers for right now. So in order to get that millage down, we had to significantly cut expenditures. So management, administration and staff all kind of pitched in to come up with a long list of lots of ideas and ways that we could reduce expenditures with as minimal effect on the classroom as possible. And, all said and done at this point, I think the list that we have is about $1.2 million that we're able to reduce our expenditures for next year. So that helps us get through. Initially when we were talking levy, we were talking a 4-year levy cycle. We're going to shorten that levy cycle to 3 years. So that's where we're at. And we'll cross our fingers.
Yeah, and to be clear, that would be a no additional cost to our residents if it was successfully passed.
Yeah, exactly. So the debt that's going to be paid off on December 1st, that reduces our millage by 3.85 mils. So this will then increase by 3.85 mils. So the net effect is 0. So the millage that we're collecting would be exactly the same as it is right now. So it's not an increase in taxes.
No, it actually isn't. 2021 is a reappraisal year for Jaga.
I don't know which county it is.
I think it was 2020, so I think it affects the bill. So we should just be aware an individual person's taxes could fluctuate based on how their property value changes in relation to the average, but
Certainly.
the overall collection for the district is the same.
Yes. Yep.
Right. And I'm sure most people don't understand that, but accountants kind of do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we're kind of careful to not say,
Yes.
it's not a new tax. It is, technically it is.
Yeah, it's not a
But the
replacement.
millage level
Yes, right.
that you would be paying is the same number of mills.
Mhm. So we would appreciate if you guys, as kind of financial stewards of our district, hear things or question things, feel free to answer, but please direct people like to Ashley, Bob, or the board or the levy committee.
As always, and anyone watching, always feel free to call me or email me with questions. I'm happy to answer any questions surrounding our finances. Okay. Anything else that we need to cover?
No.
Go ahead.
I don't think so. Yeah, I did see, you got change in the audit team, which we don't really have a change. But I do think we ought to, Jim, maybe, keep thinking if there's anyone that comes to mind that might be a good addition. We've got me and John Ellis, I think, is still interested. He might have been busy today or something, but I think he's still interested for the near term. But looking out a little further, we've got our just spaced on our last person.
And Forrest,
yeah, and I'm not sure of his actual interest.
Okay. All right.
I approached him about it. He indicated some interest, but it might not have been
right. I don't know
all that much
into a
interest.
meeting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we might be kind of back to the drawing board. I kind of thought he was, was a little younger kid still in the district.
Mhm.
So I thought maybe you have some interest, but Jim, you got 1 billion kids still in the district, so you might have more people that are in the right zone.
Jim has also taken a spot on our finance committee too, which is, we appreciate that.
Forrest lives up the street from me, so I'll figure out what the hell he's doing. Because he's either got to be in and show up or be out and take him off the email.
Or maybe he might know somebody too. I mean,
right.
That would be a great help too, even if he doesn't think it's really up his alley.
Yep.
He might know somebody.
And John did reply that he was attending tonight, so who knows? He's probably going to remember in an hour and then feel bad,
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
So, okay.
All right. So I would anticipate our next get together is probably a post-audit conference.
Yeah, post-audit would be in December.
And we hope in person.
That would be great. We'll let you know. We'll keep you posted.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Jim, Bill, Bob?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
for your time. I
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Ashley.
All right.
Take
Let me know
care.
if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care.
All right, Mike, do I have to do anything? He's gone.
I know. I wonder if the feed is still on.
It's still live. 6:27. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Can I end the meeting?
I think Mike's the host.
I'll text him.
Okay. You're faster than I am. I was just about to do that. But
You there, Mike?
it goes on forever.
Maybe if we both just leave, it'll just turn off.
That could happen.
All right, I'm gonna
All
try.
right.
Bye.
Good night.